Welcome to Access a Trader, the #1 community for those who are committed to taking control of their trading in order to achieve success, profitability, and longevity. Thank you for joining us. Here's Dan Shapiro to help you find your edge, master your process, and own your future.
Hey guys, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to another edition of the AccessATrader.com nightly wrap-up show, or in this case, good afternoon. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon. You're probably saying, well, why the hell are you recording the evening update tonight? Well, apparently I am one of those men who don't listen to when their wives speak, and I had no idea. My daughter has a basketball game today late in the afternoon. And because of Instagram, thank you very much, Mark Zuckerberg, I only found out today's game day. So I obviously have to pretend that I was listening, and now I'm actually going to the game because my wife told me. But thank you very much, Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you very much, Instagram, and thank you very much for tuning in. The only thing I ask is if you could be so kind, click a like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff that social media tells me I have to do because I'm a dinosaur and I don't understand how any of this stuff works. So let's talk about it, right? It's about 1:30 in the afternoon. NASDAQ right now currently down roughly 250 points. That's not the story, okay? NVDA, going into last night, like I talked about in last night's video, I didn't want to be in the I didn't want to be in the obvious retail, trade that was super crowded. Everybody's jumping off the 12th, 15th, 20th floor. Ironically, I will say this much. I watched the CES event with the CEO. By the way, that jacket right there, right? That jacket right there was worth 3 points on this morning's gap up. But the point was, I didn't want to be in the trade a day late versus a day early. So the prior 3 days I was long. And yesterday I just didn't want anything to do with it. And today you got a $3 gap up. It tested all-time highs. And as soon as the market opened up, NVIDIA got absolutely manhandled, right? And I think that's the best thing in the world. You could see this aggressive candle. You could see it on the 60-minute view, just absolutely lost its lunch. And it really does show you guys. It really does show you retail is always the last to know when everybody's piling it at the same time with the same price, in the same equity, talking about the same price targets. Sometimes it'll work, of course. Sometimes it'll work, but when you realize that the retail public are the pawns, like I said in last night's video, the queen doesn't die first, right? The bishop and the knight and the king and the queen, they don't die first. It's always the pawns. And unfortunately, today was another example of what happens when retail pulls together and piles in literally at the top of the channel. Look, I thought yesterday's presentation was kind of cool. I'm not smart enough to understand anything what the guy said, but I recognize it's cool. I really do. I recognize it's cool. I recognize this AI is absolutely fascinating. Is this the top in the video? Probably not. Right? Probably not. Is this a pregnant pause that it got rejected off the highs, basically off the November highs? Yeah, maybe, right? Maybe. But the interesting part about today was what the undertones said, right? What the undertones of the rest of the market had to say. And that's very, very important. If you look at the Qs, right? If you look at the QQQs, just try to draw an imaginary trend line, right? You'll notice there's just all bunch of series of lower highs and lower lows. So here's the high, here's a lower high, here's a lower high, here's a lower high, and we're kind of just like all over the place. The volatility in the first 5 days has been astronomical. I mean, just crazy, all up in areas that no professional trader wants to be in, because again, you always want to trade a day that is reward to risk ratio. The last thing you want to trade is a day that's risk to reward. And today was a risk to reward day. Usually I would say the levels that are tested are going to hold, right? At least give you an opportunity to get out. And, today was a very sloppy day. I put on 3 trades today. I had a move on Tesla that was coming out of a sneaky area, got stuffed. I lost $1. I tried to bounce NVIDIA today, right? I tried to bounce NVIDIA today at this. You see this whole like red-orange line, right? It held ones, two. So I tried to bounce it the third time around. It didn't hold, right? It didn't hold. It went through like a knife through butter. Lost like $1.30 there as well. And finally, I shorted some Tesla, breaking down below the previous day's low, as we discussed on last night's video. So I made a little bit of back. Yeah, it's kind of an irrelevant day, but the most important part, and this is kind of what we discussed in the webinar, pretty much, the whole morning, is when you're trading, right? When you're trading, you want to know that organically levels are being tested and the levels are being defended or levels are being rejected. The one thing that I didn't like today, and I was looking at pretty much the board today, the one thing that I didn't like today was the aggressive nature of other names, right? Other names that were either upgraded, had price targets upped, and they got rejected. It's a very, very big no-no. And the one thing that we've seen so far in the first 4 days is violence, right? That's the best way I could say, was absolute violence. The first day was that great pivot we had on the Qs, losing the 50-day moving average, right? That was great. Violence was in our direction. And the next couple of days, we had this massive, massive rally, specifically in NVIDIA, that it gave an incredible move. And again, I want to give you an example how aggressive today was. Just to give you an example, it took 3 days, right? 3 days. I got long on the reclaim of the 50-day moving average on NVIDIA. It took 3 days for the stock to go up 13 points. 3 days, right? It took an hour and a half to lose those 13 points, just like that. And when you see that, it's not what you want to see. Snow today, for again, another example, Snow today got upgraded, right? Upgraded today, $200 price target. Look what happened to the stock. Again, this is not good, right? There's no way to spin this. This is not a good thing. If you're in a very aggressive market, and good news is being faded, that's a bad, bad thing. It had the chart, it had the setup, and they sold it off, right? Tesla, just from 2 days ago. You guys remember Tesla from 2 days ago? Tesla got upgraded 2 days ago with a $490 price target. Look what the stock has done in the last 24 hours. It's gone from 426 all the way down to 391 today. So there's a level of violence here that I think new traders get excited because they see the word volatility. Guys, again, don't mistake the word, what's the word I'm looking for? Violence, right? And average true range. Volatility and average true range. Volatility is when a stock goes from 140 to 153 in 3 days, and it comes back in an hour. That's violence. That's not volatility. I mean, that's volatility. That's violence. That's not average true range. Average true range is what I want, right? When you're trading Tesla, when you're trading Amazon, when you're trading Meta, stocks that are trading organically and going from supply to supply and demand to demand. And the fact that we are sitting in a spin cycle here for 5 days that is very, very aggressive, I think the antennas need to go back on, man. I do. And if you see what happened today we lost the 20-day moving average, the 10-day moving average, and we bounced off the 5-day, right? And again, right now it's about 1:45. So obviously by the time you get this broadcast, I don't know what the market's going to do, right? Maybe the market is down 500 or maybe the NASDAQ goes green. I don't know, right? I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in my daughter's game. But the point is, if we start losing this 5-day moving average on the closing basis on the Qs, which as of right now is this 516 level. If we have a close, and right now the Qs are trading 517.5 at the time of the broadcast, but if we get a close below the 5-day, below 516, well, then we're looking at a little bit of a magnet of a soft landing at 512. 512 now becomes the new 50-day moving average. Here's the problem, right? Here's the problem that we were facing right over here, right over here on the first day of the year, which we'd be looking at the same type of scenario if the market doesn't hold up here. If we get a close below 512, that is right now the 50-day moving average, okay? If we get any close below 512, we got a problem. Well, we don't have a problem. Investors have a problem, okay? Because any close below the 50-day moving average, then we start going to last week's lows, where actually the first day of the year's close, of 505.70, and any close below 505.70, again, we're having a really, really nasty conversation if you're just a long bias trader. So today, again, sloppy day, but that's okay, right? That's okay. When I see a sloppy day and my value is not there, again, I don't need to sit there trading all day to get back to green. Green is an ego thing, right? You ought to be green, but you don't have to be green. You need to be green in your mind, but you don't have to be green. It's value, okay? It's much easier to wait for the next day for value and make it back on one trade than sit there in a spin cycle of aggression, of violence, of grenades being exploded all around you and trying to pacify your ego that you want to be green today. We are phenomenal market, right? Absolutely phenomenal market the first 5 days. Today's a little bit sloppy. When it's sloppy, I kind of get out the way. Violence is not a good match for a trader. I think any trader wants a good, organic, lethargic, boring, predictable scenario versus anarchy, right? Versus the purge. We don't want the purge. We want slow, boring, and that's hopefully what the market starts doing tomorrow. Paper cuts are paper cuts. They're fine. You put some Neosporin on, you put a Band-Aid, you're all good. Or if you're like Chris Rock in one of his stand-ups, put some tussin on it, right? Put some tussin. Tussin includes, cures everything. But the point is, paper cuts are fine as long as you understand that severed heads are not. You're not coming back from that. So going into tomorrow, let's see how we close below 516. Obviously, I'm going to start looking at some shorts to the bottom of the channel. Obviously, if we rally and start, closing above 520 and getting back to above the 10-day moving average, the bull case at least will be at least manageable going to tomorrow. So here's the key levels. And again, I apologize for recording the video a little early. Obviously, I don't have any setups yet for tomorrow because the market still has 3 hours or 2 hours before the market closes. But the macro picture, at least for how I'm going into tomorrow's session, is Qs below 516 on the close. I definitely will be looking for some sell side opinion. If the market rallies at the end of the day and reclaims back 520 on the Qs, then obviously we're going to start looking at some longs as well. But guys, pay attention. The one name that I will tell you that is just not acting well is Tesla. Okay, Tesla is just not acting well here. This 389, 390 level is literally the last defense here, right? At least from the naked eye. Because again, if we start building tomorrow below this 34-day, then we could really test last week's lows of 370s. Again, it's not out of the picture. If the stock got rejected on good news and an upgrade, well, what happens if the Qs start losing the 5-day moving average, which is the shortest term sentiment? It's obviously not going to help things out. So we'll see. We'll see how the market closes. Again, Qs 516 is kind of the line in the sand on today's short-term close. Above 520, we could start looking at some potential longs. But the key is let the dust settle, let the anarchy kind of die, let the day be over. Let's reassess. Paper cuts are fine. Severed heads are nods. Guys, God bless everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. And with God's help, I will see you all tomorrow. Take care.